I'll just do a quick intro about like, what we're about, and anyone welcome to Web3 with Dhee. We have Jiho here. If you or I call him Jiho's, it's just stuck. He is the co-founder of Axie Infinity, and if you don't know what Axie Infinity is, it's one of the biggest games in general, and one of the biggest projects coming out of crypto industry. And I'm super happy to talk to Jiho again. Last time I spoke to him was in March of last year when things weren't as crazy as they are now. But since then, it's been only up. Thank you for being here, Jiho.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I remember that conversation that we had way back in March of last year. Things are quite different now, and yeah. So thanks for inviting me. Definitely excited to chat with you and some of the community members. Obviously, yeah, it's been a crazy time, crazy, hard, difficult time. But these are, when looking back, always going to be the ones that are what makes it worth it. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So Jiho's a lot of you talking about your childhood, and that always been a collector, a big fan of Pokemon, and I think all of that leads down to doing what you're doing now. But I want to go back to the days of early, which is 2017. CryptoKitties happened, and some CryptoKitties community members forked and wanted to create Axie Infinity. Can you tell us a little bit about the early days?
Sure. So, I mean, the early days of NFTs were crazy in general. Myself, I've always been a gamer, I've always been a collector. So, I knew that games were great ways to introduce people to new technologies. That's how I found out about the internet. That's how I started learning how to type. So that was my life story. And, I was never interested in crypto, and it was just about financial gains and, Bitcoin price going up. But yeah, when I found out about NFTs, I was like, okay, this is going to attract collectors, people who are into art, and gamers into this technology. And this is going to be the way that the majority of the world actually starts using and learning about this technology. I'm someone who, I believe in learning by doing. I don't believe in formal education for a lot of people, at least. Like some people, it might be the right for a good fit for. I'm like a huge proponent that people need to learn things by actually getting their hands dirty. And so that's what I saw as the potential with NFTs. In the early days, people were having very high level intellectual discussions about what the future of the technology. But in terms of actually being able to use the technology, there wasn't much there, right? So a lot of it was just, being in the NFT space back then was, okay, you go on Discord, you talk to people, or you might look at like some interesting projects that are up and coming. And that's how I found out about Axie, right? Like when I saw Axie, I immediately thought that it looked beautiful. And the concept of a game like Pokemon and Tamagotchi, that seemed like something that would be a lot more interesting and engaging, that would help expand the reach of this technology. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So yeah, some people might not know this, but I actually found Axie as a community member first. Someone was actually sent me their referral link saying, "Hey, you should check out this game." But so I found out about Axie as a community member, and then I went into the Discord and just started doing work that I thought was important. Right, like I didn't ask for anybody's permission. I just started trying to help build alongside the project, and that started this crazy journey.
Awesome, awesome. That's super important, right? Like because people think, you need to be a developer, you need to be a builder, or you need to be some tech guy to get started in the crypto community. But you being an example, like you came in with a different set of expertise, joined the team as a evangelist, as a member, and then went on to you're here now. So it's a great story, someone can take away from. But I want to learn a little bit about the evolution of Axie. uh like, how do you classify them from 2017 to 2022? First of all, I just want to congratulate you and the team for launching Origin. It looks kick-ass. I was playing it yesterday, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a whole different game. There is so much learning I need to do, right? Like, so congratulations on that. But like, from from it being a bunch of text codes, Axies being just text, to like, Origin, like how tell us about the journey.
Yeah, so Origin is a really important project for the future of Axie Infinity. It's important because we need to make the game more fun, more beautiful, and by improving the quality of our product, that is what will attract people who are spending for fun and for status and for progression. And that's actually what is needed to balance the in-game economy, right? Like a lot of our current players, rightfully so, are super they care a lot about the in-game balance of the economy. And the way that that actually happens is for there to be plenty of reasons for people to use their in-game resources rather than selling them, right? Because if everyone is just selling their in-game resources, then it's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable, and it's going to add a lot of volatility to the economy. So our number one priority with Origin is making it a product that can appeal to everyone in the world and attract a massive player base, and also people who are not just trying to play and earn, but people who just want to play and flex, right? Like that's going to be like the evolution is like the more people, right? Like the more people that are just playing for fun and status, the more sustainable the economy is going to be. And the only way to do that is by increasing the quality of the game and making it something that can appeal to a mainstream audience. So that's what we're fully focused on with regards to Origin. And the early results have been really promising. People love it. People love the art, the animations, and the gameplay. There are definitely some valid concerns and issues that have been brought up around the balancing and competitive play, but those are things that we're working on actively. And we actually deployed our first patch uh, 2 days ago, which actually I think did a great job of starting to address some of the common feedback. We received thousands of really detailed feedback forms and have a way internally of splicing that data down and making sure that we can understand like what are the most common complaints and points of feedback. So that machine has been really important, and it's been really the crux and the core of that is because the community has been so excited to tell us what they think. We had 5,000 feedback forms submitted when Battles V2 was released in 2019. There were only 200 people who actually played it, right? So the scale and the ability for us to really gather community feedback has tremendously increased since the early days.
That's just crazy. That's just crazy. I can't believe, like, I don't even know how can you go through so much data from the community, because everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to say something. So it's pretty interesting. Before I ask my next question, I just want to give a shout out to people here: Coco, Lima, Yellow Panther, TQ. Just nice to see you guys. And like, if you're enjoying, if you're learning something about Axie, learning something like, about Jiho, do share and let other people know that like we are doing these Twitter spaces. And yeah, let's get on more and more people, so like, we can do this even bigger, we can make this even bigger. So Jiho, tell me something, right? Like, tell me about the evolution of since 2017 to 2022, about the gameplay, about the community. Like, what has changed? Have people stuck around? Are then, like, what has happened, right? Like, how have you evolved as a
Mm,
uh,
definitely. So Axie is currently in its fourth year of existence, which is something that I'm really, really proud of. And obviously, it's been a crazy and rocky journey. We started in a bear market where nobody cared about NFTs and crypto. We built in obscurity and silence almost, with nobody caring about what we're doing. We did that for years. And then all of a sudden, right, like NFTs, gaming, and art also, definitely because of Axie, started to gain this mainstream attention. And we've just been building progressively over time, right? So in the first year, right, initially you couldn't even see your Axies. Everyone just got a text file that said what the traits were, and then finally you could see your Axies, I think maybe a month or so later. And then you had your Axies, but you couldn't actually sell them. And then we opened the marketplace. And there was a huge controversy, is like, why did you open the marketplace up when the sale was still going, right? So there have always been controversies in the Axie community. That is something that is as old as the project itself. So we opened up the marketplace, and then we allowed breeding. That was in May of 2018. And then it was like, okay, our roadmap, it says that we need to release battles like ASAP. So that summer, we released the first battle system. It was very simple. It was auto battles based, and we had around like 50 players back then, but we were building up slowly, and so then we launched Battles V1, I guess, which is kind of like the prototype. It was very basic, but it was something that was tangible and had shipped, and I think started to attract more people to the project. Fast forward, I think, so we had Battles V1, or that prototype, around for about a year, and then we had finished development on Axie Classic, Battles V2. We shipped that in December of 2019. And there were around 200 people who played it on the first day, maybe 500 people who played it in the first week. The community was super small back then, but what we saw is, okay, one of the big changes, aside from the gameplay, was that rather than having experience points, Axies could now earn love potions. They were called small love potions at the time. And then a community member, XHuman, actually made a liquidity pool for them on Uniswap. Right. And then it became, okay, like you can earn these potions by playing the game, and then you can sell them on Uniswap. It was like a mind-blowing thing that I think showed the future and potential for the project. But then, so that came out. We slowly and steadily got traction for about 6 months. And and then the Ethereum started having scaling issues. Crypto started to get a little bit more popular, and gas, right over DeFi summer in 2020, gas started to really spike. And so then we're realizing, and this had been something that we've been thinking about for a while, even from back in the CryptoKitties days, where we're like, okay, we need a scaling solution, right? So we started building out Ronin. And then, right, so there was a whole, right, like Ronin development loop that took a lot of time, right? We deployed Ronin, and then, like exponential growth. Everyone knows that story, I think. And so, I don't know, like, it's just been a crazy journey. There have been so many things. There's still so much to build. And, we've gone through rocky times, right? Obviously, recently has been one of the low points, if not the low point in Axie's history. But what I'm seeing is that people really care. People are rallying, and they feel like this is a project that cannot fail, right? And that's how we feel as well. We stand with the community, and it's been a roller coaster.
This podcast was possible because of our sponsors, Brave and Unstoppable Domains. More about them next.
Crypto scams are like box of chocolates. You never know which one you're gonna get. Especially if you're using a crypto wallet, which is a browser extension. You run the risk of attacks like phishing scams, account spoofing, data leaks, and theft. The best way to avoid getting attacked is using Brave Wallet. Brave Wallet is the first secure crypto wallet built directly into a browser. so no extensions required. With Brave Wallet, you can buy, store, send, and swap assets. You can even manage your portfolio and NFTs all in one place. Whether you're new to crypto or a seasoned pro, it's time to switch to Brave Wallet. Download Brave at brave.com/web3 with Dhee and click the wallet icon to get started. You know what's the worst part about crypto? These long and complex wallet addresses. They can get so confusing. I know you hate them too. What if I told you I replaced my long wallet address with dheerajshah.nft? Yeah, that's my name. All thanks to Unstoppable Domains. They're the #1 providers of NFT domains. With Unstoppable Domains, you don't have to worry about renewal fees because you get to keep your NFT domain forever. You can get an NFT domain as well, maybe a .crypto, .nft.x, or something else. Go to unstoppabledomains.com right now and get your NFTs for as low as $5. Yeah, I think you brought it up. I would like to ask you on that, right? Like you mentioned about a low point. So I think I will just ask you a few questions and let me know if any questions you don't want to answer, we're quite right? Like, because there was around 6.50 million hack, one of the biggest in the crypto ecosystem. I want to know, like, when you guys found out, what was your reaction? What was the conversations in the war room? Like, how was it from your side? Because I know how, like the Twitter and like everyone in the world, like had like a huge panic, right? Like, but like, how was it for you guys?
Sure. I mean, I first want to say that, because it's an ongoing investigation, it's very difficult for me to share a lot of the information that you guys might have a curiosity around. But what I'll say is that it was a shocking time. My first thought was of like, that this was a huge tragedy, and I felt very sad. But then almost immediately, right, I felt like, okay, like it's done. We need to start the process of building back from this, and that there are people on my team in the community that need to understand the path forward. And so there was very little time to basically bask in, what had happened, and, tried to immediately move into controlling what we can control. So, I was so proud of both the team and the community for how they dealt with that. It was obviously it's crazy. It's this is the surreal timeline that we live in. But I think when we look back on this in 5 years, everyone is going to be proud of how they reacted to the news and rallied together. And people are going to see it as a week that defined Axie and really cemented the strong ties that we have among ourselves.
Yeah, and I remember in 2016 when the DAO hack had happened. I mean, obviously, I don't want to compare, but like these are the monumental, key moments in like a project's history where like you just think that holy shit, we've lost everything, but like you come back stronger, right? Like these are the Lindy effects we keep talking about. You know what I really appreciate, after all of this had happened, you went to a conference or like a meetup which you had planned, right? Like you went and you're facing the community. I don't know how much time did you have to process what was happening. You went on, you did a meet, I think you spoke to a lot of people. How was that? Like, how was the reaction from the community, and how did you feel?
Well, I was very conscientious in that I didn't want to cancel my schedule for that day, even though I'd stayed up all night. And right, so we just announced, the hack to the community, I think at 8:30 a.m. And then I was scheduled to speak in a keynote address at 9:30. So it was a really hard time for me, to be honest. But I kept thinking, like, how am I going to look back on this in 5 years? Did I rise to meet the challenge? Did I set an example for the community, or did I hide in my room? Right, like that's not the way to do things. So, it was incredibly hard, but it was necessary, right? I felt like, I needed to be out there showing that we were still there. We're going to work through this together with the community. And likewise with the meetup. The meetup, every time I go to a meetup, I meet people who flew all the way there from the Philippines, from Latin America, from Latam, right? That's actually how I met Limas. He flew all the way from Peru to a meetup to meet me in LA. And this has happened, many, many times with many different community members. So I just thought, like, if I had traveled halfway across the country, or sorry, if I had traveled halfway across the world for a meetup, and then the person didn't come because something bad happened, how would I feel, right? So I thought about those people, and lo and behold, when I went to that meetup on that really sad day, the community was, to be honest, the community seemed more worried about me than they were about the entire incident. They were so, it was I just got so much energy from it. And just as I predicted, there were people from halfway across the globe that had gone and flown for that meetup. So, I just want to say thank you to the community, because that was a hard day, and they picked me up. So
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's a two-way street. Thank you for that. I mean, I know like how hard it must have been, and like I really appreciate you sharing this. What I really like is this happened and Origin was supposed to be released, right? I thought like oh my god, maybe it's delayed, right? Like maybe we'll take some more time, but like you guys stuck to the schedule. You guys were dealing with this on your own, but the other team was like, hey, here we go, Origin launch. Hey, this is happening, that is happening, and like we're still on, right? Like as you said, right? Like the thing is ongoing, and even after that, like you went on and raised money. So you could pay back all the funds lost. So like this is huge resilience, which I personally like love everything about Axie Infinity, right? Like I love the story, right? Like you guys were going bankrupt, but in 2017, 28, like during the bear market, and like you guys still kept on going. This happened, you guys keep on going, and the best part is like more and more people are being added to the mission, and more people are supporting you. How does it feel?
it is a blessing to be involved with this really special group of people. And at the end of the day, if there's one thing that people can get from the Axie story, is the power of committing to one thing and continuously building for a long period of time. Every project in this space that has been around for 4+ years has gone through incredible difficulty, trials, and hard times. That's a part of building. That's the cyclical nature of crypto, and that's how it works. If you're around long enough, you're going to face really hard times. And the community has been behind us. Some people are very heated critics as well, and I think that's okay. Like, I prefer heated engagement to apathy. I'm not sure if any, I do actually a lot of research into the EVE Online community, because that's 18 years of precedent around a really player driven economy, right? It's not as perfect, and there's a lot of friction because they're not using crypto or blockchain. But there are definitely a lot of learnings. And the EVE Online community is one of the most heated communities on the entire internet, because they feel that level of ownership and engagement. And a lot of that applies to the Axie community as well. So yeah, it's been intense, and that's how things will always be.
Yeah. So awesome. Like I did not know about this. So what are your like takeaways from Eva Online community, right? What are the things you trying to like replicate or do better? I would just want to know, because I've never heard about this before.
Sure. So, I mean, so EVE Online is a space exploration game where you can build ships, and if the ships actually are destroyed, they get destroyed. And there is a in-game currency that has a secondary market liquidity to it. It does share a lot of the characteristics of these NFT games that we're trying to build up. And yeah, like some of the interesting things that I've learned there are right, like yeah, with this type of game with real stakes, people feel very emotionally involved and things get very heated, and that's a feature, not a bug, right? That's not something to be worried about, that's actually something to be excited about. Which is kind of counterintuitive. The heat is what helps catalyze the development of the project, and I think that's a really important takeaway. There are some other things that I've learned as well, like for example, apparently, like economic balancing in EVE Online, the times that it's actually the most successful are when it's framed as lore rather than like, we're increasing rewards or decreasing rewards, right? There should always actually be like a lore underpinning to it. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of learnings from that universe that can be taken into Axie, and it's proof that a lot of the things that they said about EVE Online are also things that they have been saying about Axie. People in the early days, they didn't understand it. They thought that the economy wouldn't work, and it's been around for 18 years.
Wow, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. So you talked about the economy. Like these are my like opinions. Again, maybe uninformed, but like I would just like to put it out there. Economy of a game or like even a nation is like always changing, right? Like there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. There are just like balance changes you have to do, keep on doing to keep things sustainable, because like the conditions of the game or the market always change, right? So what how do you guys think about economy when like a lot of these discussions are like constantly people just criticizing the economy? No matter what you do, people are going to criticize. How do you look at
Yeah. Economics is definitely something that the community is very, very passionate about. I like it. I like all the impassioned discussion around the economy. It makes us better. It makes our thinking better, and it's really necessary. What I will say that is that, right, like we're not trying to upend the laws of economics in any way, right? Like there still have to be people who are willing to spend for fun, for status, for social capital to make the in-game economy sustainable. And I think the bright side is that we've been the ones building in this space the longest, and we have 4 years of experience and learnings and an amazing team. And I think Origin is right a step towards this, right? Like Origin already has 410,000 plus weekly active players, and that's without any token economy added to it, right? That's without any like burn mechanisms added, right? We're still very much in the early access phase without any kind of real or economic implications. So we think that Origin, the biggest thing that we can do in the in the short term or intermediate term as well is to make sure that Origin is a huge success, and that it attracts the types of behaviors that are going to make the economy more stable and more sustainable.
Awesome. Good to know. So are there like can you tell us a little bit? We'll go back to Origin. As you're talking, what's new, what's different, what is something like we should look out for?
Sure. I mean, so Origin, most importantly, it has three. You start out with 3 free starter Axies, so anyone can start playing, fall in love with the game, the universe, the community, without having to make any economic decisions. I think that first and foremost is a huge change. The Axies have all brand new art. They're new cards. Eyes and ears now have cards associated with them for the first time ever. We have a brand new adventure mode, an entirely new kind of arena ranking system. The turn structure has been modified to make it more dynamic. So right now, like in Origin, when you play a card, your Axie immediately springs into action. It has more of a real time feel than in V2, where you have this like parallel turn structure. So yeah, I think those are the main changes around Origin. If you haven't tried it, you can play it on desktop right now through the Mavis Hub. If you've never tried out Axie and we're kind of afraid of the entry barrier, totally understand, but there you now have a path towards checking out Axie, seeing if you like the game for free.
So, are you saying like if someone wants to try Axie, they can do it for free right now?
Yeah, as long as they have a desktop, they can get it to the Mavis Hub.
That's awesome, guys. Go check it out. Go to Mavis Hub, download it, play the Axie Origins. It's pretty cool. So I have like a very broad question, not necessarily about Axie, but about Sky Mavis. Like how do you define Sky Mavis? Who are you guys, and what are you guys doing, right? Like, what's your vision for Sky Mavis?
So what I'll say is, different. Everyone has a different way of explaining what we want to do, but I think long term we're pretty much aligned that our goal is to bring crypto and blockchain to everyday people and educate them on the power of this new technology by actually getting it into their hands. We think that, right, like the combination of, right, like combining a game with kind of like financial rails and a wallet and even e-commerce, right, like that is a model that will, it has the chance to touch almost every single person on this earth. So yeah, we're really committed to getting this technology in the hands of everyone. We think that games like Axie built on Ronin will be the way that many people get into this technology, and it's already happening. Like, did you know that the Philippines is actually the #1 user of MetaMask in the world?
Wow. Okay, I did not know that. I mean, I knew there are a lot of Filipinos who are active, but like I did not know that one users of MetaMask. Wow. And this was not the case before Axie, right? Like, because as far as I remember, not a lot of discussion from Philippines used to happen, right? Like, Axie kind of changed the entire ecosystem, or like even the country for good, right? Like, and I know, right, like that's not the only region you guys are focusing in. You want Axie to be there everywhere, right? Like, so Lima is here, who's leading Latin, and so what's your what's your world domination vision like?
Well, I think the path towards getting our products everywhere is just to keep improving on them with community feedback. And there is really no silver bullet, right? So I think just to continue building, making sure that we have a community-centric approach to distribution and the way that we speak about our products and the way that we build our products. I think that's really important. And yeah, we're really seeing it. And I think like a big opportunity for us is the proliferation of these tools like Ronin Wallet in developing nations. Why? Because have you ever wondered like why Asia has so much nicer airports than the United States? Right? The United States actually the United States airport system is actually broken because it was like the first to be developed, right? Because America built their airports in like the 1940s, 50s, and 60s really early, whereas right in Asia the airports were built much later. And right, like now in America, people don't want to upgrade the airports. We already have them. Why should we make them nicer, right? Actually this same dynamic is actually going to happen with finance, where the places that don't already have like smooth existing financial rails are going to be the ones that adopt crypto the fastest because the current options are not great. Whereas, right, countries that have like super entrenched rails, right, they're going to be like, why do we need to upgrade from this, right? We already have it, right? So it's the airport. The airport analogy I think is really important for figuring out where like mass adoption of blockchain will occur first.
Wow, that's new. That's also super interesting. And I think the same pattern plays out, like, in most of the things in life. Uh, it's super cool. So, okay, you were talking a little bit about Ronin wallets, Ronin ecosystem. I have a few questions, right? Like, did you like? I mean, what? Okay, I know the answer to that, maybe, but like, tell me a little bit more about, like, Axie DeFi ecosystem. I think Axie has introduced way more people to DeFi in a very short time than, like, and like maybe what Uniswap did, even though like it's quite big. So, like, what is your guys' opinion on the entire Axie DeFi ecosystem? Or Ronin DeFi.
Uh, Sure. I mean, the way that I see it is that you understanding how to use a DEX, understanding how to use a digital wallet. These are all basic financial literacy concepts that everyone will need to learn eventually, right? Just like people, right, are expect in order to have a job, you need to know how to use the internet. You need to know how to use email, right? That's like a super key component to being competitive in today's labor market. It's going to be very similar to that moving forward, especially with automation, the rise of robots, I guess you might say. Like there are going to be new skills that people must acquire to be competitive in the world moving forward. And crypto, I think, is going to be a major component of that. And so I really do like, right, like people talk about scholars a lot. So why did I come up with the name scholar initially, right? It was because you're learning by playing Axie, you're learning about Web3, and it depends on your vision of the future whether you think learning about Web3 is actually, right, like incredibly value additive or a waste of time.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Uh, Very cool. I just want to point out that, like, we have 300 plus listeners on the space. So thank you guys for listening. I think this is one of the biggest we have done. So thank you for that, Gio. Right, like, you come with a huge number of your fans and followers, and, like, all the people who like you. So really appreciate that. Very cool. Um, do you get FOMO with, like, what's happening in the crypto ecosystem? So what I'm asking is, like, DeFi 2.0 happened, protocol liquidity became like a huge meme, as in, I'm just using it in a way, right? Like, everyone is talking about it. The entire NFT PFP wave happened. Bored Ape came out of nowhere, and, like, is whatever it is, right? Like, so do you guys feel any kind of FOMO, or, like, you need to catch up to what's happening in DeFi, what's happening in other side of the space?
So there's a question: do I have FOMO about other things that are happening because I'm working on Axie? I think like
Uh,
the only thing I have FOMO for is my wife. I would say, but yeah, in terms of these other projects, like definitely like need to be as the market leader. The market leader needs to look at what smaller projects are doing and see what experiments are working out and basically absorb them like an amoeba when appropriate.
I love that. Oh my goodness, I love it. I think yeah, we'll make a clip of this. This is amazing. Very, very cool, guys. If you want to quickly ask some questions, you can request. Uh, that would be super cool. And yeah, and if you are enjoying this conversation, do share, tag, and others know, like, we are doing this. Um, Here is, it's okay, right? Like, if we take community.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Go on, Rishi. And check up some Twitter questions which people have already posted. Then I ask you. Rishik, go on. Rishik, go on. Quickly, though.
Yeah, here's what's up, man? Like a huge fan. I have been following Axie Infinity from a long time, and thanks to Dheeraj for introducing me to this. And this was my entry towards NFT space. dude, like this moment to have an opportunity to talk to you is like it's like a dream, it's like a dream to come true. Anyway, so my question is like with Axie Infinity, now when are we planning to have certain kind of burning mechanisms and some kind of alpha you would like to share with us so that like since we all have small communities around us, like very small communities, and everyone is waiting for those burning mechanism to get out and everyone start again playing Axie Infinity and have a good time. And that's it, man. Great guy. And one more request I have, and that is for Dheeraj actually. So like Dheeraj has been part of this Axie thing from a long time, and he has been representing India from quite a long time, I would say. So, is there any kind of a small giveaway you would plan for for Dheeraj so that he can
Yo.
do some flexing? Yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot. And if any day you are planning to organize or host
Okay.
some live events, so
Like
yeah.
one question. One question.
Sorry. All right. All
All
right.
right,
All
wait.
right.
So, Diraj, can you help? So there were a bunch of questions there. Maybe you can help like identify them.
All right, all right. So yeah, you can go ahead with the first one. Like, when are you planning for SLP burning mechanism? And yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, so Philip actually put out a really great thread yesterday about how right like so Origin is out. People are interested in seeing how the runes and charms will connect to SLP burning. And I guess the long answer or the short answer is that when you craft runes and charms that are also going to be NFTs that can be traded on the marketplace, they will require moon shards as well as SLP to craft. So yeah, like that will be added once we kind of leave like early access for Origin. Right now, like it doesn't make sense for us to add the economy as we're just trying to test out the gameplay and improve on that. So and then yeah, like in terms of the real life stuff happening in across the world, we're actually working on a meetup framework that will release to the world so that anyone anywhere can apply to have a kind of sponsored Axie meetup wherever they are. So thanks for the
All
questions, man.
right. And are you planning to come to India? One last one. Sorry.
I really want to come to India. I've never been actually, but the time zone is actually really good and it seems really awesome. I love Indian food. So yeah, I would love to come. Yeah, maybe I'll have to talk to Diraj about
Yeah.
how to get over there.
Let's do this.
Damn, that's amazing.
We'll make it happen. We'll do multi-city tour with Gio. Yeah. Awesome. John. John is from CNN covering tech. Do you want to ask a question?
Hey, Jeff. Good to talk to you again. I have a question about Binance. Can you give any insight into how much equity Binance has in Axie now after the bailout?
Yeah, I would. I don't think I can speak about that right now. We usually don't like disclose those types of terms and stuff like that. And yeah, like I would direct that question to our PR team.
And last question, do you have any comment on the investigations from the US government into Binance?
I don't have any comment on that.
Awesome. I think two more than one question. So Belp, let's stick with one question.
Hi, it's just one question. Hey, Gio. So I think I saw you on NYC. I still remember that pajama party. We had pizza there, and that's where I first met Lima. And I actually met your wife in Korea. So I was like, wow, that is so cool. So, brief question short. So I'm also making my own gaming part, and I'm really inspired by how you're going through that because I'm getting a lot of shits like like I can barely imagine what you've been going through making your own chain, making it work with the game, and also balancing it with economics. So my question short is except the community, of course the community is the best, like that's the most valuable stuff in terms of infrastructure, like what's the core thing that you would focus on, like the Ronin part or the game part? Like, I just want to know that, because that will give me a lot of guide of how should I, design and structure the game forward. Thanks.
So, I mean, I think one of the amazing things about our team is that we have people of different talents that have come together towards a common vision. So, yeah, I think like the answer is that you need to take all of those very seriously, and you need to have separate people working on them. In the early days, I would definitely focus a lot on the community and getting something tangible into your users to start iterating on. I think like that's really important. It's just like, how do you get to product market fit? Like, people in this space, they don't they think that we're in a new paradigm, so they don't like basically adhere to fundamentals of product development. But actually, a lot of those like basically like lean startup agile methodology principles, they actually work when you apply them to
Still works.
when you
Exactly.
yeah when you apply them to crypto, it actually works. And
I mean, it's
a
the
lot of
best.
people, they don't.
It's the best method, I think. Like, so, like, I'm not saying Axie is a bad, like, because I have a model right now. Okay, I have to avoid that I can't do, that I should do, or that what I maximize I should do. So for the past year, like, I've been selling my NFTs and also some Axies to build this game, and right now we're almost into alpha launch, and like, it gave me a lot of like insight of what you're going through, and it also gave me of like, okay, if that's how they did it, like, I should avoid that, and I should overcome that. Like, that's, I just want in summary short, you're giving me a lot of inspirations and life lessons that you don't give, but I just learned it through your journey. Like, I think that's a big alpha for myself.
I want
Awesome.
to
Well,
add
yeah,
just
I'm
one.
glad that our journey has been instructive for you, man, and sending you the best of luck.
Man, write a book about it. Definitely, it's worth reading.
Awesome. Thank you for your question. And good luck with your journey. Killer Noobs, how are you, buddy? What's your question?
Hey, Dheeraj. Hey, Gio. It's awesome to hear you again, and it's awesome for the community to witness you come forward and talk to us. We have Gio's army community, G Donkey community, lots of community people from India listening to you at the moment. So I have a few simple questions. There are a lot of insights in the Twitter, but would love to hear from you. First thing, when do you think we can possibly see the SLP earning mechanism going into Origin first? When in App Store second? And when the marketplace update where we can see our Origin Axis in marketplace third? Thanks.
Okay. All right. I'll try to answer those questions as quickly as possible. So, when will basically earning mechanism be implemented in Origin? It really we're trying. Obviously, we want to do that ASAP, but we want to make sure that the game is balanced and at a reasonable state. So, we're So it's basically TBD. We want to maintain flexibility so that we can continue to improve Origin. With regards to mobile, so we plan on launching mobile in approximately a month. We've had over 400,000 testers, desktop only. 80% plus of our community are mobile only. So we know that that's going to be really important for getting more testers involved. Regards to the marketplace showing the new art, well, Jeff K just did a little sneak peek of that. So I would be expecting it pretty imminently. It's in testing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the question. Next, I think the question, you can ask one question.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So I guess my question would be a little bit more about how we're gaining intelligence from the community. I've seen a bit of a push from the team to try and get the community a little bit more involved in decisions that are happening, especially after the land Q&A and recently about, when are we going to switch to Origin rather than staying on V2. But it's felt a little bit strange that some of that's coming off of Twitter threads and coming from like random other locations. Is there something that we are planning to implement earlier than just like massive AXS governance stuff
exactly.
to structure that a little bit better?
For sure. I totally agree that having these conversations on Twitter is a poor venue. So yeah, we actually are currently in testing for a forum that will be token gated for these types of long form discussion and feedback from the community. So there are just a couple of things, like we chose the URL for it yesterday, so that hopefully shows. It's quite ready. We're just testing and trying to polish up a couple of things. So tentatively, I have like an 80% confidence that it'll be shipped within the next few weeks or so.
Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Steve, Adi, go on, but
Hey Gio, great talking to you. I've been listening to you for like 10 to 12 months repeatedly on everything which you say. So my question is basically not when, but you have told multiple times, and even in land chat, we have actually speculated before of how SLP would be made use in land, right? And recently that was like kind of taken away from us, saying that land would be a completely different game, having a completely different token with NPCs and stuff. So didn't initially you had talked about how the interoperability of SLP in land would create more value for the token itself?
Sure. So I think this is a question that's actually like best directed at the land team and Philip. So yeah, what I'll say is that I think it would be strange to create new SLP emission mechanisms through land, but perhaps there could be some interoperability of using SLP as a crafting ingredient. So yeah, it's TBD. I think one of the things though is that we do want people to be able to obtain most of the stuff that they can get through land, if that makes sense. Whereas the main emission mechanism for SLP is through a different game mode. But yeah, that's definitely something that that I think should be addressed more so by the land team, because I don't want to step on their toes and say something that puts them in a corner.
All right.
I have a question, right? See, you were also talking about how charms and runes will be NFTs, and then there will be an entire land. Do you think will it get confusing? So many which are able to be traded. Can it get a little overwhelmed, or this is how things are going to be? Everything is an asset on the blockchain.
Wait, sorry, I feel like I didn't really understand the question.
Good. So now I'm just saying, you said these charms and runes will the cards, right, which you could craft, will also be NFTs, or something you mentioned. I'm just thinking there will be so many new NFTs which will be traded on the marketplace. Will it get overwhelming for someone to
I see.
what's happening?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's also why they'll be in their own separate separate place within the marketplace. And also, yeah, what you'll see is that right now it's very difficult to actually craft. So yeah, it definitely adds another tuning factor that needs to be taken into account for sure.
David, can I ask one more question, please?
Who's this? Killer Noobs?
Yeah.
Yep, go for it.
Hey, thanks. So, I'm getting a few questions from our community member from Axie Infinity India, right? So, guys are already enjoying Origin for sure, but guys who love V2 are asking how long do we have to enjoy V2? Yeah, thanks.
So, how long do we have until the end of V2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the basic question. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is something that we've been thinking about a lot recently. I mean, so, what we'd previously communicated is that, right, we would end up having season 21, and that would be the last season. So yeah, like basically what we plan on doing is building up V3 or Origin, building up Origin to make sure that it's totally ready to have the kind of economy taken from V2 and implanted into Origin. So, that is going to be a little bit based on how the testing goes, how the feedback goes. So I don't want to give a timeline on something that is up in the air. Does that make sense? So, but I think like, roughly, yeah, it's hard. Like maybe if I had to estimate, maybe like 3 months from now, 3 or 4 months from now, would be like, when we shut down, the V2's SLP emissions and transfer everything over to Origin. That's an estimate, and that's the best I can do.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Hey, just one question, please. Like you were talking about mobile gaming also. So
El Pirata, go for it. Sorry. My bad. El Pirata, I missed you on the last question. Go for it.
Hey there, thank you for having me, and thank you, Gio, for coming to the spaces to answer questions. It's very helpful to give some clarity to the community. And I have a pretty simple question because yesterday or the day before, we saw Philip talk about season 21 and making some questions to the community and having some answers, like people saying, yes, we do want it, no, we don't want it. And I made also a poll on my Twitter that got about, well, close to 1,000 votes. I think it's 1.7 or something like that right now. And it's like there's mixed feelings about it. In my opinion, and then I want to hear yours if you don't mind. Season 21, what makes this pull the pros from testing the game that we want to have launched as soon as possible, because we can, as we talked with Quinn, I had an interview with him, and he talked about how 20 to 30 million people could be joining Axie Infinity when it launches fully, and because it's a game that is going to be mass adoption for people that play Candy Crush and this kind of games, so we want that to happen as soon as possible. So wouldn't have a season 21 be working against the objective that we all want to optimize for, which is getting Origin launched as soon as possible? So does this mean that we're going to have season 21 after saying that we would, or does that mean that you're going to correct the course in mid-flight, let's say, and just not have season 21 in the coming days or weeks?
Yeah, we're still thinking about this, to be honest. There are good arguments on both sides, which makes it a interesting thing to try to unwrap. So I'll try to break it down for you, right? So we previously communicated that, yes, we would have season 21, that it would be the last season for V2. However, right, like you can make the argument that, right, we should just all be fully focused on Origin and getting that as good as possible, as quickly as possible, so we can do the full turnover. However, like one thing that I will say is, okay, like most pro players, they actually only play the last week of the ladder and just climb during that final week. So I actually think that even if we do have the season 21, they would be, focused enough on providing feedback for Origin. And, if anything, they'll just climb on the last week. I also think that there's something to be said for, we did say that there would be season 21, and, people prepared themselves, they prepared their scholars in that direction. So I also think that that's an important dynamic. I also think that, if we don't do balancing, if we have season 21, we won't do balancing. And that means that, it is relatively simple in terms of just, right, kind of, the thing that makes running the season more complicated is, right, like doing the balancing patch, the testing, kind of period for stuff. So like all that balancing is actually what adds a lot of the operational overhead. So if we simplify it by getting rid of the balancing, I don't think it should be too distracting. So those are some of the arguments. That's kind of some of the reasoning. We're looking at both sides of the issue, and we'll come up with a decision relatively quickly.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question. Igna Crypto, and then we'll go to Pengu. Last questions, guys. I think we're short on time. Igna Crypto. If
Hi, hello, friends, hello, family. Hi, chicos, and thank you for having us here with your time. Amazing. Well, I have one question, and it is about education inside the Axie Infinity ecosystem. And are you planning to spend more resources around the educational topic, the educational topic in the ecosystem? Because I am looking at that topic, and I think it's really important for the growing of the platform and the game. Thank you very much, chicos, for your time, and Dhee.
For sure. I think that education is really important. I think it's one of our top initiatives, and it's something that we need to do better on. 100%. We're bringing all these people into crypto, and there's an incredible opportunity to kind of teach them in a more structured manner. So far, like, I'm someone who believes in like learning by doing, and that's the type of learner that I am. But not everyone is like that. People want some people, they want more like formal educational materials, and I think that's totally something that would look awesome with Axie branding on top of it. So that is definitely something that I want to do more of. And yeah, like thanks for asking that question, because I think it touches on a really important thing, which is education. Education should be a primary value that people are getting out of this ecosystem, and long term, when people look back on their Axie experience in 10 or 15 years, it might be the education and the things they learned that end up being the most impactful on their life.
Awesome. Good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Pengu, go on.
Hey, what's up? Long time no talk to many of you guys. Sorry if this has been asked already, and maybe this is one of the final questions. But obviously, like, you guys have had a ton of stuff going on in the Axie this world. But the recent LAN Q&A obviously had a number of community members who were, I guess, somewhat underwhelmed or just not feeling great about it. And I was curious just to hear your thoughts on, like, what did you think of the Q&A? What are your thoughts on, like, how the land information was delivered? And yeah, generally, like, what was your reaction to all of everything that happened?
Definitely. So Philip is in an incredibly difficult situation. He's been brought on to help steer a project that's been going on for a long time and whose progress has been admittedly slow. I think that one of the things, one of the goals for the presentation was to just align expectations with the community, show them where we're at, and kind of show them the current progress. I think like one thing that we always know that we should do and kind of didn't go with in this situation is, right, like whenever you should always like have something kind of like exciting and something that, makes people excited for the future, especially when you're delivering, basically something that, it's almost, right, like brutally honest news, if that makes sense. So I would say that that's something that we could do better. I also think that, right, like a land is very abstract, and when you just write about it, it's a little bit harder to grasp than actually showing something. So yeah, I think that a gameplay leak, would have been a nice thing to include. So yeah, maybe look out, like that might be something that you'll be seeing very soon. So yeah, so end of the day, definitely emphasize with Philip, I take ownership for the entire thing on, it being a little bit of an underwhelming experience. At the same time, there was a little bit of a ripping off the Band-Aid and realigning realigning expectations with the community. Definitely could have been handled better, and I take full responsibility for it.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Pengu. Jiho, I want to ask you, there's something coming up called Origin Watch Party. Tell us a little bit about that, and what's the week looking like? What are you expecting?
Sure. So One of the awesome things that came out recently was, right, we had this entire week of launch programming leading up to Origin's actual early access launch. And the community really, really loved that. And, what we wanted to do is, right, like have an opportunity for those people that are on mobile to, right, learn about Origin in a more structured way from creators that we want to kind of put a spotlight on. There are so many amazing creators in the Axie ecosystem. It was, it's difficult always to kind of nail it down to a few select contributors, but that's always obviously the hard thing when you're putting spotlight on someone. So yeah, like basically we want to help the community learn about Origin. We want to boost creators in an awesome way, and that's what the watch party is about. And I'll say, yeah, it's an experiment. It's a new way of engaging with the community that we used to not be able to do.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think let's wrap it up. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pengu, Rishik, Adib, Killer Noobs, El Pirata, Belp, Ignite, Shoji, and a lot of listeners who've been here since, since the time we. It's good to see you guys be here. Just want to thank Axie Intern as well for quickly setting this up. We rescheduled this. Thank you, Jihos, for being here and doing this. It's amazing to talk to you and learn so much each and every time. You are for helping me out. Before we head, I just want to say something to everyone enjoy any of this. Enjoy anything you learned, please tag go and tell us what was the best part about the space so people can go and listen to it again. I host these podcasts every Thursday. Gio, I'm gonna mute it.
Sorry, I missed the last part of that, but
Yeah, can you mute yourself? I think there's a little bit disturbance.
okay. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to this space. It's been really awesome. I hope the community has gotten, just some of their questions answered and understood a little bit more about me and our vision and, how we're going to continue building on from what's been, to be honest, like a really, really hard time in the Axie community. But these are the times that make our family, our nation much closer together. And we need to do better, and we are super excited to keep pushing forward this new technology and this entire space with all of you guys. And yeah, I'm sending love to you. Have an amazing weekend. Have a great Friday. It's been great to be here. And to be honest, I feel like I should be doing more Twitter Spaces because I feel like it's a great opportunity to kind of talk to the community face almost directly. So. Awesome. Yeah. Sending you guys all love. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. If you're new here, follow me. My name is Dheeraj Shah. My show is called Web3 with Dhee. And follow Jihos if you're already not following. And thank you for coming. Good night, good day, or good morning to wherever you are. Bye.